Welcome to the channel, everyone. Today working on the 70 Camaro and the 5-speed Tremec conversion. This is it'll be part 3, hopefully the ending here. We've only got a few parts to install. We got the clutch and brake pedal. It's going to replace the one brake pedal that's on it now, because this car wasn't originally an automatic. And then we've got clutch master cylinder bracket, and reservoir. And then there's a few lines that go from this to the clutch, the hydraulic clutch bearing. So only a few parts here, so let's get started. Okay, so I'm having a little trouble with the mini high torque starter playing nice with the clutch cover that come with the kit. First off, I had a spacer on this starter right here. That was to get it away from the automatic flex plate. It was actually too close. Now it's too far away, so I took the spacer out. Hopefully that's going to be the right space. It was pretty far away from the flywheel. The starter, you can see it's got a weird block end. It doesn't look like a normal starter. This thing is made, looks like to work with a factory starter with just a round deal there. It's hitting this part right here, and actually what it's doing is it's pushing on this, causing this to actually hit the flywheel or the crank. It's hitting something in there. Boy, it's hard to see all that black, but right there, those deals right there, I think are designed to grab a hold of the factory oil pan and keep it from going back and hitting the crank or the flywheel. But we're running an aluminum oil pan, so there is no lip on there for it to grab a hold of. Seems like some of these bolts weren't quite lining up either. Maybe this one is a little off, but might have to flatten this, and then I don't know, we'll see. I didn't run any shims on this starter with the flex plate and the turbo 350, but I do have the shims that came with the starter. I guess we won't know that until we actually hit the starter and hear a bad noise or not. But yeah, it's this is the way it goes when you're mix matching different parts. This is how it seems to go. So I either got to modify this or not run it or something. Okay, so I did get this starter and this cover to work together. I flattened, you can't see it, but I flattened out those body lines that are where the starter is there. But one thing that did do is it kind of bowed the whole cover. So you can see up there, maybe you can't see, it's kind of close to the flywheel. It's far enough away, I think, that we're going to be okay for now. If I ever get some time, I pull that starter off, I'll pull this plate out, and I'll kind of bow it the other way. But I did get them to work, and the starter does crank the motor over. I didn't add any shims, and it seems to be engaging the flywheel okay. So pretty happy with this starter. It's been working out real good so far. Okay, so now that we got the starter and the headers and everything all figured out, I'm going to go and figure out the brake and clutch pedal, and then I got to get the clutch master cylinder bracket in there along with the clutch master cylinder, and then the reservoir. First thing I've done is took the little clip off the brake pedal, the original brake pedal. So I crawled under there and did that, so it's disconnected. So got my brake pedal disconnected from the rod that goes to the booster there. I'm going to take this out in one unit. I'm not going to take out the master cylinder then the booster. There's 4 nuts like this that hold this booster on in there. You see there's 2 on this side, 2 on that side. I've got them all loose so I can take them off with my fingers. Not an easy place to get into. It's pretty tight back there. Okay, so now I got them loose. Now I've got to take off the brake lines, which is going to be the fun part. I'm probably going to make a mess. Dad picked up these mats right here. Supposed to be like super absorbent. So I got these. I'm going to get some more paper towels. I've got to take off the 2 front brake lines, which are these 2. Go to the 2 front brakes. And then I've got to take this one off right here. And this one goes to the rear brakes. But when I reinstall this, I got to change this up because I've got this backwards. This should go to the master cylinder, I'm pretty sure. This one here and this should go to the master cylinder. Then I gotta change this one and I gotta put it so it comes out the rear. See this rear port there? That's where the rear is supposed to be connected to. So I got this mixed up. We drove the car down the street and it seemed to brake fine, but I'm pretty sure that that's the wrong way to do it. So I'm going to do it the right way. So I'll figure that out when I get there, but right now I got to disconnect them, make a huge mess, and yeah, it's not going to be fun here, but it's got to be done because I got to get this out of my way to get that clutch pedal under the booster. Okay, so with the booster out of the way, we can get to what we need to do. First thing is we got a plate or a cover right here. These cars actually were made for automatic or manual. The automatic cars got this cover over the hole. So good thing is we ain't got to drill anything. I just got to take them little bolts out and the hole will be there. So I got to do that. Get my bracket out here. Get it hung on here and see where we go from there. Okay, so there's actually a little foam piece behind that cover, and then because Dad actually got a new firewall pad, it looks like he got an automatic one. There's no hole through this firewall pad, so I'm gonna probably have to cut through that and then we can get the bracket. Okay, so after poking this, they do have a slot there that just popped out of this firewall pad. So they have a slot there for the clutch linkage. Hopefully that's going to be enough clearance there, but yeah, we'll see. Now we get the bracket on there. Okay, so I got the bracket just kind of fitted up there. I got a couple nuts on these studs. Not a whole lot of threads left on this because I got to get the brake booster on there yet. So ain't going to be many threads left, but it'll make it easier for tightening up. You can see the hole there for the master cylinder, the clutch. It's going to kind of shoot upwards, I believe, in there. Then you've got these threaded Allen head bolts that are going to hold the master cylinder on. So I'm going to get the master cylinder in there. Okay, so here's the master cylinder. You got that line that's going to go up to the reservoir. You got this thing right here. It's going to have the line that goes to the actual clutch deal. So it's an AN fitting on there. It's just a cap to cover it there. Then you got the rod there, and I've got that on there, threaded on there, because I'm probably not going to be able to show you that underneath once it's in under the dash. So I'm going to stick that up in there and bolt it up. Well, we're not fitting. I got one bolt in. This bolt over here will not go in because it's hitting the firewall. Looks like the bracket should have been over a little bit more, so I don't really understand that. Gotta pull it off, kind of figure out what I'm doing here. Well, you can see that that bracket should have been moved over. They should have moved that over because there's plenty size hole there. So I'm not real happy with this. Okay, so there's my slightly enlarged hole. And then I kind of rolled it. I rolled it over like the factory did with that hole, just to kind of make it, I guess, look factory. It don't matter, it's going to be behind that bracket. But not happy I had to do that. I also had to enlarge this hole on the master cylinder because their holes on their bracket just weren't lining up, and it was super tight trying to get those bolts lined up. You can't fight bolts in tight quarters. You get the bolts have to go in the threads, or you're gonna wreck your threads. So the master cylinder is also hitting on this side over here is the fuse block, and because this is over here instead of over here where it should be, it's actually hitting the fuse block in there. I'll see if I can take a picture once I get it in, but it's hitting that. I don't think it's gonna do anything, but it is hitting that. It's up against it. All they had to do is move it over. Now, I don't know if they have to move it over as far as they can to get it to line up with the clutch pedal. I don't know if they're doing that for some reason, why they couldn't have moved it over, but I'm just letting you guys know it's tight in there with the fuse block too. Okay, so I went ahead and took out the factory stock pedal. It's got a brand new pedal on it. We didn't even use it. Bolt right here, you can see it's above. It's like above the steering column. It's way up in there. It's not too hard to get to, but yeah, there it is. So I used a long extension and a swivel. They got the bolt going this way, but I think I'm going to turn it around because there's a wiring harness over here. So I'm going to turn it around. They got a washer here, so I'll keep this washer on this side. I am assuming that you install this where this went, the brake pedal, putting it back in the same spot, and this is going to be out there on the outside of the bracket, kind of floating, I guess. They don't really say much about these pedals, but that's just kind of what I assume, because they want the brake, I imagine, going right back where it was. So they got these bent so they're spread apart. So yeah, I'm gonna give that a try. Can't really get any video of it because I can barely get in there myself. So I'm gonna get this in there and let you know if I have any trouble. Okay guys, so we're back together. You can see I've made a few new lines for the braking system. Had to add a few and had to put a union there. I don't like putting a union there, but that's the only way I could get it done fairly cleanly. So it is what it is. I got the reservoir for the clutch master cylinder. I got it right there. It's tight. That's pretty much the only spot for it. I don't think you have to mess with that much. It's going to be way under the hood. It's going to be hard to kind of access it right there, but I don't think we're going to have to mess with that much if it's not leaking. So I've got to get the line hooked up. This line, I got to shorten it. It's got to go to the reservoir down there, right there. Once I get that on, I got a line here that goes from the master cylinder to the lines on the clutch, and you're not going to be able to see them down there, but they're down there. They're not far away. Yeah, so just got to connect this. There's a few fittings I got to put on the lines coming out of the clutch there, and then I got to bleed it. You got to bleed the system They give you a syringe thing. So they give you a bleeder kit with this clutch. And basically it's a syringe with a little plug on the end. I'm guessing you put it in there, you just push the fluid through. It says don't pump the clutch pedal. So it looks pretty easy. They got a plug there that goes in the reservoir, it looks like. And then you just, like I said, push the fluid on through. This was the extra line that was on the master cylinder. Apparently it must be like a factory deal. So they come with hoses. I'm going to use the other one because it's got a nice little bend on it so it don't kink up. Yeah, that's there's the fitting right there that the line goes to, and then you go to the clutch. Hopefully I can get to that when I raise the car up because it's deep under the booster now. Okay, so these are the fittings that go on the hoses that come out of the clutch. You got this one here, which is just a union. It's going to join the clutch with the master cylinder. Then you've got this one here, which has an AN fitting that'll go on the hose, and you can see it's got a deal right here for a bleeder screw. That's your bleeder screw hose. Remember, that's the top one, so you can let all the air out, otherwise you won't be able to get all your air out of the system. Okay, so there's the bleeder on the top hose. I'm going to tuck that up. There's a clip up there. I'm going to tuck that up there once we get it bled. And then you can see the other hose there. I think we're going to run it that way, away from the header, along the frame rail, and then you can see it curls up and then goes into the master cylinder up there. I think I'll get a couple of clamps. There's something to hold it there, but that's about it, guys. Got to check a few things, tighten some few things up, bleed the clutch, bleed the brakes, and yeah, we should be ready to fire this thing up if we had a dry shaft. Still no dry shaft. It was supposed to ship midweek, and we were hoping to get it today, but didn't happen. So we are kind of dead in the water really until we get the dry shaft. Thought we were going to drive it back out of the shop tonight, but pretty disappointed that we can't, but someday here. Okay, so the drive shaft arrived. You can see it came in a box. Really well packed. Didn't see any damage on it. We've already installed it, and that was pretty simple. It's got a slip yoke up here, so it slid right into place. The only trouble we had is this dry shaft is 3.5 inches. We thought we were going to get a 3-inch dry shaft, and we actually thought that was going to be pretty tight, but they ended up sending a 3.5-inch one, and you can see it's pretty tight here. When the car is on the ground, this stuff all tucks up into the tunnel of the car, so it's not this close to the mufflers. The problem we had was the weld. So you can see the weld is a little wider, or it's the widest point. The weld was pretty tight on those mufflers. Had to kind of pry the mufflers apart a little bit to get it to go up in there. But other than the fitment there, yeah, it looks good. You can see it's a good looking piece. Supposedly that drive shaft, 6061 aluminum, 3.5 inches in diameter, will handle up to 650 horse, which is more than we need, but guess it's nice to know that we shouldn't have any trouble with that drive shaft. So that's the final piece to the puzzle. I've been kind of looking around, making sure I got everything tight, and topped off the transmission fluid. So it took almost the 3 quarts they sent to fill that up. Yeah, we've already test fired it, and everything sounds good. It appears the clutch is working. It does go into the gears with the car up in the air anyway, the clutch pushed, so no funny noises. I did forget I forgot to plug off the Turbo 350 has a vacuum line, and I forgot to plug that off, and we had a vacuum leak, so I scratched my head with that for a second or two till Dad reminded me of it. And so I put a plug on that, and yeah, everything went good from there. So we did run it to get it up to operating temperature, let the thermostat open, and yeah, I'm gonna let it cool here. I'm gonna top off the antifreeze, so tomorrow this thing will be rolling under its own power again. So we'll get her backed out of the shop, go up and down the road, shift through some gears. We won't be able to go through them all because they can't go down the road because the fenders are not completely bolted down on this thing yet. But yeah, tomorrow, it rained all day today, so there was no chance of getting it out. But yeah, tomorrow this thing is gonna drive, hopefully. Okay, so everything's in, and as far as fitment of the transmission, they say no tunnel modification is needed in the Camaro. I would say ours is tight on the passenger side here. The driver's side seems to be okay, but everything seems to be kind of over to the passenger side here. There's one spot there I can't really get enough light up there to show you, but it's pretty tight. We do have the polyurethane motor mounts, as I've mentioned a few times, that could be pushing the transmission higher than if you was running a rubber motor mount. So that could be, you know, pushing everything up. But I think we're going to be okay, especially with those motor mounts being polyurethane that don't let the motor move all that much. But as far as transmission fitment, yes, you can get it up there without modifying the tunnel. It is pretty tight. I guess we'll report back if it is an issue once we get this thing on the road and we get some drive time on it. So this is a ton of work to get 3 pedals and a shifter in this car, but you know, that's I wanted to keep the car in automatic. It's just easier to drive that way. You kind of can cruise it. But Dad is the one that wants a manual. He wanted to shift those gears, so I pushed him to buy this kit because that's what he wanted. You know, I'm helping him try to build, you know, the car he wants, not the car I want. I could easily have left it in automatic, pushed him towards that, but I know he really wanted it, so we're spending a lot of time here converting it over, but hopefully it's going to be worth it in the end. So that's a wrap, guys. Car runs good, shifts into first and second anyway, like butter. Can't run down the road with this yet, but it's going into gear real good, and clutch is working. I mean, everything feels good. So I don't imagine there's going to be any other trouble with the other gears. We'll know soon enough, because I got to start pulling this front clip off. I'm going to get that painted, and I'm going to go after the rest of the car. So 2 weeks or so, I'm hoping this thing's going to be running down the road all painted up. Just got done with a royal purple oil change after we run it around, and we haven't changed the oil yet, but it really hasn't gone anywhere. But I wanted to just kind of run that oil we stuck in there for a little bit and change it out with some good stuff. So I think we're good to go for a while. Brakes. The brakes actually feel a lot better after changing my routing to the rear brakes going to this outlet, and then you got your master cylinder going to the side ones. So I think possibly the rear brakes weren't even working, or not working much at all. But yeah, brakes feel really good now. And I guess that's about it. Oh, the headers are a lot closer to the ground than they were with the other transmission. I'm guessing the mounting of this transmission is downwards, so it's got the motor angled a little bit towards the back more, because the headers were really close before. On the one side they were really close on the one side, and now there's all kinds of room. So I think we've lost about 3/4 of an inch of ground clearance, which it was pretty tight before, but it's really tight now. So yeah, that could be an issue. You know, that's kind of the price you pay when you want to go low, and this thing is pretty low. But that's another issue for another day. We're gonna get this thing down the road, then we'll do all the shakedowns and adjusting and whatever we got to do. We just got to get it done and going down the road. So that's the next thing. I got to do a few other things, and then I can start going after that front clip. So anyway, guys, that's gonna do it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you.